And that's how you teleport. It's too hot to wear this in Australia. Much better. And now I get to talk about more shoes. Yay. What's good everyone on YouTube? It's me, back with another video. And as you've probably noticed, the room has changed because I'm actually back in Australia in my real room. So, as you can see, we've got bad reflections off my poster. A little shoe poster there. And no real shoes being displayed, but that's okay. We can still talk about shoes, and actually, most of the shoes I was buying when I was out abroad was online, and I had it sent to this address, so I can talk about my new pickups now. So, this particular shoe was part of the very anticipated Nike Fear of God collection. There was like a whole bunch of clothing that came with it, and 3 shoes that came out, the Fear of God ones, the Air Shoot-Arounds, which is the one we have here today, and the Skylons, which honestly have been kind of the unwanted child of the collection. Some may disagree with that. I personally think it's just a boring shoe and not really worth being part of the collection. Probably shouldn't have said something so harsh. But with the intro out of the way, as you've come to see in the video, we are here to talk about the Nike Air Shoot-Around in the light bone colorway. Good intro, I actually got that. Now, with the intro out of the way, let's get into the box, which is just over there. And this might take a while because the box is actually quite special. And I think it's almost identical to the Fear of God 1 box. So if you've seen any reviews of the Fear of God 1s, you probably know what you're in for. So, to start it off, we got this huge orange square type box, which very much is reminiscent of like other designer shoes. And I say that because in most designer shoes, the box is way too big for the shoe itself. A lot of excess space, a waste of, packaging and resources, but it's a nice presentation and I'll roll with it. And it's in this sort of orange color that's a little more washed out than other Nike boxes. And you've got 3 hits of branding on the box. So I'm gonna see if I can use the light. On the side, you've got a Nike swoosh. I hope you can pick it up on the camera. And then on the back side as well, you've got the same Nike swoosh. And just on the top, in gloss text, you've got the Fear of God branding. And let's just see if it picks up. Okay, if it doesn't, I'll just throw in B-roll to show this, but very premium, very nice looking. And it is quite thick as well. The box itself, there's no shoe in here and it's really heavy. And getting to opening the box, once you've opened the box, you actually are greeted with this small metallic sort of plastic bag with Air Fear of God written on the top and the Nike sign on the side. And when you open the bag, it comes with a few extras, which is always nice. You've actually got a hang tag in this sort of thick plastic that has Air Fear of God written on one side, the Nike swoosh on the other side. And you've got the metal chain, and I'm not too sure where I'm going to put this on the shoe, or if I'm going to put it on the shoe in the first place. And you actually come with 4 extra lace locks. So you've got a pair of translucent ones, and you actually come with a white pair of lace locks that match the midsole in the bag originally, but I've swapped it out on my shoe. And on the shoe, it comes with the light bone lace locks, which match the upper. And on every lace lock on the bottom, you've actually got Air Fear of God written on it. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the lace locks. No extra laces with the shoot-around, unlike the Fear of Gods, which come with like 2 extra laces. So don't worry if you don't get any extra laces, that's how it's supposed to be. And then moving on, we've actually got this really nice sort of like tote bag. And it originally I always thought it was just some sort of cheap nylon, but it's actually quite a thick fabric with a second sort of fishnet layer. And you've got the Nike swoosh on one side and the Air Fear of God on the other side. And to be honest, I could see myself using this outside of the shoe. So if you don't feel like wearing the shoe, but you want to let people know you actually have something from the Fear of God collection, use the bag, because they'll know. And then once we go back inside on the box, you've actually got the orange paper. And once you peel back the orange paper, the shoes are individually wrapped in two plastic, well, metallic silver bags. And inside each shoe was just some standard wrapping paper, which was a little disappointing because for my pair, for some reason, it's super flaky. Keeps leaving little paper bits everywhere. But that pretty much covers everything about the box. And when I go back to just grab the label reads Nike Air Shoot Around. So the retail price on this shoe, the suggested retail was $380. I did not buy these for $380. I actually got these through a trade. I traded my Yeezy 350 V2 in the static reflective colorway. I traded 1-to-1 for this shoe. And I actually picked up the statics for retail. So in essence, I paid 340 Australian dollars for this shoe. I'll put the conversion right here. And for $340, like looking at this shoe, for $340, all the stuff you get, plus the shoe itself, I think it was quite worth it. But I'll get into my sort of gassing up of this shoe later on. So with the box out of the way, let's get into the shoes. So here we are, the Nike Air Shoot Around in the light bone colorway. So straight off the bat, something you probably notice is if you've seen any of the shoot arounds in the black colorway, you've noticed that its upper is primarily done in this sort of mesh kind of material. But in the light bone colorway, you've actually got a full leather upper or like a full kind of nubuck upper. And to be honest, the fact that both of those shoes are the same price and the materials are so drastically different, I just think the light bone colorway is the only real colorway to go with. And the leather is really nice, it creases very nicely, has this very premium feel to it, and I just think it looks beautiful on feet. And along the toe portion, you've actually got a 3M sort of detail, so when you hit it with the flash, you'll get the sort of nice shine. And the lacing system actually is one of the more interesting features of this shoe, where there's only like 2 lace holes at the right at the bottom, and then the rest of it just loops around this thick ankle collar, which then is locked off with any lace lock, with one of the lace locks that you can choose. I actually chose the white one that matches the midsole color, but you can choose whatever you want. And then you've actually got this Velcro strap that sticks around the entire shoe, but it's still split down the middle, so it doesn't actually help with lockdown, but it's nice as an aesthetic touch. And then to get your foot in the shoe, because this ankle opening isn't exactly the widest and it's leather, you actually got this metal zipper that actually has Fear of God written on one side and Nike on the other side. The zipper itself is okay. I just found that like you have to be careful with it, and it's pretty sticky sometimes. And I've seen photos of people's feet being stuck in the shoe because the zipper broke or something like that. That's horrifying, and I really am always a little scared when I'm trying to put this shoe on. But you know what, we wear our shoes, so I just have to be careful about it. And then finally moving down, we've actually got this really nice sort of sculpted midsole and outsole. It kind of continues onto the outsole seamlessly. And if I'm not mistaken, the midsole and outsole setup is identical to the Fear of God ones. So I think the comfort should be exactly the same on both shoes. And I have a lot to say about the comfort. It is something quite special. And just some small details on the midsole. You've actually got Fear of God written on the back. You've got the Air Fear of God written on the side. And then you've got SN8329166. And what I've been hearing is that this is apparently in reference to Jerry Lorenzo's grandfather's service number in the military. I'm not going to pretend I know much about him, but that is a fact, and there you go. And similar to the Air Max 180, you've actually got this sort of clear portion that wraps around to the outsole as well. and this sort of exposes the zoom unit in the bottom. And speaking of the zoom unit, this is where we get into the cushioning technology you're dealing with this shoe. So the midsole and outsole itself is pretty stiff, but what they've done to make up for this is they've actually got a full Zoom Air bag that runs through the entire shoe, and then a double stack in the back. So there's a second Zoom unit in the heel, so you've got nice sort of cushioning when you're landing on your heels as well. So Zoom Air is kind of this compressed air with like fibers running through it. I'll show the animation that Nike has about this cushioning. It's really nice and springy, and I'll get more into that when I talk about the comfort. Now, in terms of sizing, I'll be quick on this. If you have a narrow foot and only a narrow foot, I would recommend going half a size down on these. But for anyone else, even if you have normal proportion feet and wide, I would say true to size, because the shoe is definitely a narrow and long shoe. And if you were to half size down, even with a normal foot, your feet will be really pushing against the sides like they do on my foot. So I bought these in a 9.5, a US 9.5, that is my true to size. And I would say lengthwise there is a little space, but widthwise it's perfect. So recommendation, narrow feet, half size down, normal to wide feet, true to size. Now, in terms of comfort, the bottom actually is surprisingly comfortable considering you picked up the shoe and felt the midsole and thought nothing was happening. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it's the identical setup to the Nike Foamposite, where you've got a full length zoom unit and then a double stack in the heel. And I actually love how this Foamposite feels on feet on the bottom. It's really springy, it has this nice bounce back, and it just feels very responsive. And even just for walking around, this shoe feels great. Now, I haven't actually worn these outside yet, but I've worn these around in the house on my wood floors, and it is very nice to stand in. The upper is also quite good because this leather is of a higher quality. It creases really well. It doesn't dig in any way, you know, with like plastic leather, if it creases the wrong way, it kind of like cuts your toes off, literally, well not literally, figuratively. But the leather actually creases quite nicely, and it holds your foot in pretty well because of this sort of like sticky-ish material on the inside. So I didn't find my feet sliding around despite the fact it's a bit long. And yeah, the upper material is quite good. The other thing I will say is this upper is definitely not breathable, so it is quite a warm shoe. But aside from that, bottom is great, top is great as well, aside from the ventilation. Now I get into where I talk about my opinions on this shoe. I absolutely love this shoe. In my time owning this, I'm not sure if I would say I like this more than the Fear of God ones, because there's something about the cage system on that and the shape of that shoe that just looks beautiful. But I would also just say maybe it could be a case of this is the one I have, therefore I'm convincing myself this is better than the Fear of God ones. But honestly, on feet, this shoe actually looks really nice. And I also think that this shoe can look pretty good in more normal outfits than the Fear of God ones. I feel like the Fear of God ones is definitely a shoe you need to think about when you put it on, much like I would compare it to like the 750s, where you can't just throw a shoe like that on with normal fits. Like, you have to really think about an aesthetic you want to go for. Whereas this I could almost see being worn with almost any athleisure kind of like fit, I would say. Nothing too skinny, but anything looser, I would say looks great with this shoe. Overall, I would just say aesthetically, this shoe is definitely being slept on in comparison to the Fear of God ones. And I strongly recommend, if you guys do want to get some sort of unique silhouette from the Fear of God collection, the shoot around is not a bad option at all. Ditch the Skylons. The Skylons are worthless, but honestly, the shoot-arounds, comfort-wise, I'm sure it's exactly the same because the midsole seems to be identical to the Fear of God ones. And you still get that Fear of God, you know, branding and aesthetic. So I would just say, I like it. It's good. And with that, we've come to the end of another video. So I would love to hear what you guys think of this shoe. And what's your favorite shoe so far in the Fear of God collection that's dropped? So I'm pretty sure most people will be saying the fog ones, but I'd be curious to hear if anyone else thinks otherwise. I will say if I had to pick maybe top 3, it would be the Fear of God ones in the light bone colorway, then this shoot around, and then probably then just the Fear of God in the black colorway. I just don't love how the black colorways have been using this like nylon material rather than like this full leather. It just makes it feel like you're spending the same amount of money for a lesser shoe. Whereas these, like, you're spending it and you get like a full leather upper. I'm gonna stop ranting. Like the video if you like the video. Dislike the video if you dislike the video. And now, time for the on-feet portion, where you'll get to see how I try to style it. To be honest, I haven't found quite the right look for it, but eventually I will one day, and these shoes will be going outside. Until then, catch you guys in another video.